smart move to move him. And, they got a first round pick for him, which is fantastic. So not only did Gordon address the now, he also addressed the future today, which is just why today was just such a home run, for the Rangers. But I'm going to be honest. I mean, I've been saying all year, not about wins and losses. Be patient. It has to be about wins and losses for the rest of the year now, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, they're in the mix, and they're playing damn well. And like I still can't believe there was a car accident yesterday. Because, I'm sitting here, and we have all these amazing stats, from Shesterkin, and it's like he's not here anymore. He's going to be in the hospital, or he's not going to be playing for like 2 weeks of value. I mean, there's a massive chunk of games coming up here, and I'm kind of just speechless. I have to get over it, I guess. And like I said, it's okay because we got Hank and Georgie boy. But, yeah, the wins and losses thing, absolutely. I think all of us as fans here have just been pleasantly surprised. We've said it all year that this team has the talent. We've talked about how, Coach Q and this team, it hasn't really changed. The only thing that's changed is that they've gotten stronger and tighter and better together. Now, granted, they've slipped a little on the defensive side. They've given up a lot of shots on goal the last few games. But, they put up, 14 goals here in the last 3 games. And there's all these, pros and cons coming. Now, I don't know. The other thing, too, is maybe to look at the competition. I mean, tomorrow night, this week coming up is just going to be,
it's a
buckle up, everybody, because
buzzsaw.
The Isles are just, they won a couple of games to get back into it. They picked up a couple of nice pieces to help them out here. That's going to be some game tomorrow night. And then, obviously, I'm just trying to look at the schedule here coming up. And then, Montreal is a wounded, they're done. But, they could, they're going to cause some trouble, obviously. They don't want to see the Rangers do any success and have any success. And, man, this is the crazy thing. We've got back-to-back games against Vigneault and Philly. I mean, these games are going to be just unreal. So, what I'm getting at is here, the team has played well. They beat the teams that they should have beat these last couple of weeks. Obviously, the stinker, the bad luck game that I was at Boston. But, again, you brought it up, best team in the league. All right, you take that. They came off a good stretch there, and it was a little bit of a lull. They woke back up. They won 3 in a row here. They get through the trading deadline right now. Obviously, Shesterkin going down. This is going to be something else to see how they come around here. But, man, like I said, you got Georgiev and Hank as your backups. That's just insane. But now we get to sit back. The trade stuff is done. The goalie stuff is done. We've seen these guys come together. The scoring's all over the place. It's everybody's contributing. They're playing tough. They're playing physical too, man. They're standing up. They're really gelling. Here we are at 61 games, and man, we're like you said. Now, yeah, let's make the damn playoffs. Let's freaking go for it. I'd love to see what these guys have if they can. Get in there and mix it up with some of the top teams that are up there because. They've got it. They haven't had any major injuries. This is the first big one now. Really, since, Mika went down at the beginning of the season. But as far as the guys up front, we're firing all cylinders, Panarin's come back really well from his couple of games off, too. So this is fun, man. So I think everybody, now that this whole trade deadline is done and the goaltender situation, all the craziness, you think about all the shows prior to this one, Kev, and here we are on the other side of it. They're playing well, 4 points out of a playoff spot, and, man, the games that are coming up are just going to be wicked, and they're really going to be able to test themselves, and we'll find out here in the next, couple of weeks, probably at the end of this week. By the time we get to the 2 games through Philly, no matter what happens tomorrow night, you got to beat Montreal, and then I think we have 4 games left with Philly to end up the season. Just imagine if we're kind of hanging in there with those guys towards the end, and the fact that Vigneault's behind the bench and Hayes and everything else. Man, this is good stuff, KD. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and who's probably more excited than, the fan base right now is a guy like Panarin. He came here, came for the rebuild, probably figured it'd be a couple of lean years coming in. And now, look, the team showed him today that they're committed to winning. And he's got to be pumped. He's already shown that he loves the city. and loves the fan base, and he's got the rocket leg kick and all this great stuff, and he's on social media, and everybody loves him. And obviously he's putting up the huge points this year. So this team gets, in the playoffs, he's got to be a top heart candidate. And now the team just said to him, we want to win. We're committed to win. We're excited with what you've been doing this year, and we're going to back you up and try to see if we can't get into the playoffs with this great season you're having. So he's got to be excited. Zibanejad's got to be pumped. Truba, all these veteran guys that we have on the team. I say veteran that they're in their late 20s, but that have been putting up for this team all year, and as part of a rebuild, and now they're being rewarded. They're being rewarded with a stretch run here, with a full complement of players, a full complement of teammates that could do some damage in this last month or so. And hey, look, if you get in the playoffs, we see it year after year. You get a hot goalie, streaky scoring, whatever it is, anybody can win. Anybody can win in the NHL playoffs. So I think those guys today, the Panarins and Trouba and Zibanejad, they've got to be so excited for this next month of games, and just as excited as we are and the rest of the fan base. So strap in, Ranger fans. It's going to be fun.
And hopefully it goes well.
Oh, yeah. You know what, Paulie? I mean, you just mentioned the schedule here, where it's the Islanders. They're in Montreal, House of Horrors for us. And then it's the two Phillies, and then they're St. Louis and Washington. So, I mean, by our next show, I could be saying, well, it's not about wins and losses again, because they lost like 5 in a row. But, for now, I think there's a lot of energy, a lot of optimism, and Ranger fans should feel good. It's been a tough little run, between last year, starting with that playoff series, I think in Ottawa, when they probably should have won that series. Last year where all the sell-offs and the letter, and then the beginning of this year was a little rough. I knew to be positive about it. I was one of the few Ranger fans, right, Paulie? I knew what I was looking at. I knew we'd be exactly right here.
Hold on, I have to get my throw-up bucket. Hold on.
But it's been a rough little go here for Ranger fans, so it's a nice little moment today. Before this all went down today, I said, today was a big day, sort of a make or break day for this rebuild, and I think that Gordon and JD strengthened the rebuild going forward, and put the Rangers in a good position to contend for a cup in 2 to 3 years. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's funny because just looking at JD and Gordon there today after it was all done, and you have to sit back too. I mean, the chaos that must have went on yesterday. Here's your hot goaltender, the young kid, great story. Forget about the hockey, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it. But could you just imagine the chaos and the concern and everything that all those guys in the organization was going through as far as, them getting into that accident, making sure they're okay. I'm sure they were all up and down, towards the hospital, contacting family members. I mean, because that's just a stressful experience in itself. And I'm sure that just kind of broke down through everybody in the organization. And we had no idea this was going on, right? And all of us are sitting here as fans, waiting for trades, people talking BS about Hank going to Colorado, this and that, the Kreider, the negotiations, everything else. And meanwhile, that madness was going on with Shesterkin and Bucci. And now to see them on the other side, they got Kreider's deal done. They pulled off, Brady Shea here. And they've kind of, they held their guns, they held through the the pressure of everything. Obviously JD coming in, as experienced as he is, as how much he loves this city, how much he loves this organization, and to think that they were that's stressful enough just to get through your first trade deadline as the president of hockey operations, your first time working with Gordon, obviously doing this thing together. You got a second-year coach. You're evaluating the team. You're probably getting, he was saying too, the phones were ringing, so people were trying to make deals with them, definitely. But sitting back now and looking at the whole thing, I really, more than anything now, especially realizing what those guys went through yesterday, you got to tip your hat to JD, Gordon and the whole entire organization, especially concerned with the health of two of their top players, two young players, right on the eve of one of the biggest, days in pretty much all the teams, franchises as far as the trade deadline. But it was especially a lot of focus on the Rangers, especially with the fan base. And I just got to give it up to those guys. Bravo. They weren't expecting that. They got through it on the other side. And I think as a fan base, we really need to sit back and appreciate, that whole moment that they went through yesterday. And like I said, we're going pretty good. They're going to shake this thing off. At least we know the kids are good, they're okay, and then they'll move forward. But you just got to acknowledge that whole thing that they went through yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, like you said, a whirlwind and just not what they were expecting. And, it's amazing that they were able to actually keep it as tight-lipped as they were. I mean, there was really no, rumors out there or any leaks that it had gone on, a little bit right beforehand when there was an announcement of a press conference. You saw a couple of things about a car accident, but you heard nothing last night or nothing early this morning. So yeah, I'm sure it was a bit chaotic for them, but as always, the Rangers handle everything in a professional manner, and they did the same today. So I'm just excited with the day itself and how it played out, and the concern with Ranger fans with potentially trading Kreider and Foss and whoever else was. When does the rebuild end? Are you just perpetually rebuilding when you're just trading away your, 25 plus year old players every year? So I think today, JD and Gordon made a stand that the rebuild is over. Essentially, this is our core group. We want to, go forward with them. I'm assuming they're going to end up re-signing Fost in the offseason, or that's the plan. I mean, you would hate to lose him for nothing. I mean, that could potentially maybe be a misstep with today, if they were to lose him for nothing. Not, it's not like losing Tavares for nothing with the Islanders, or if they would have kept not re-signed Kreider and lost him at the deadline for nothing. But, that could have been something, especially if maybe there was like a second-round pick on the table for Foss. So, maybe that could potentially be a mistake. We'll see what happens in the offseason, but I assume they'll find a way, especially with Shea being moved and opening up that cap space for Foss to be back in the lineup. And he's such a glue guy too. And if this team is going to take that next step next season, he's a guy you want to count on as in that third or fourth line role. Hopefully, and look, I love Foss. I mean, I just don't think he has any business, although he scored 2 goals last game. So what do I know? But, I really don't think he should be on that line with Panarin and Strome. But, we'll see ultimately where he ends up when this team is contending. But, big day. The rebuild, I think, is officially over. It doesn't mean they're not going to continue to put young guys in the lineup. I mean, they're going to have to, now that you trade away Shea. I guess the plan initially is to go with Smith on defense to fill in, which is great. Smith looked real good in the couple of games he filled in the other day when D'Angelo was out and Stahl had the flu. So I feel confident with him in there. And look, if he falters a bit, you have Rykhoff, who you could bring up from Hartford, or if you want to bring Hayek back up. So you do have those young guys in there. And then, next year you have Condrey and Lundqvist and our embarrassment of riches, as we like to call it here on defense. So, still the young guys are going to have a part going forward with this team, but, bringing Kreider back, not trading Foss, Strome, all these guys, I think we have our core of veteran guys going forward. And these are the guys we're going to, look to and the team is going to lean on to potentially get us that cup.
Buddy, we're going to have to get some creds, man. We're gonna need to be a training camp next year, because that's just gonna be off the charts.
Hey, look,
guys trying to get spots on this team, especially defensively. The core. I mean, man, I told you, man. I said the defense is gonna work itself out, man. Defense can be learned. They'll be steady. They've adjusted, obviously, I mean, they've played a couple of different styles of teams. They've played a lot of hockey in the last couple of weeks, but and obviously the kid's been a net and taking care of business, but. They're shaping up, man. I mean, I'm just, I'm listening to you, and I'm sure, the fans listen to us and everything. And, you sit back and you go, here we are, 61 games in, 4 points out of a wild card spot, and just going like, man, it's all